What's up, the squad? Back with another video. I seen the title's going down. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it in the title. Definitely insane. Not gonna lie, definitely insane. Definitely crazy to some fact of, and I know, y'all hear me say it all the time. Y'all been hearing me say it this whole week, really. That, you have to wait. We gotta wait. We gotta be patient. They're gathering a lot of information, during this investigation, and I definitely see a lot happening. I know a lot of people, that kind of had that false, that false hope, and people don't think that, stuff can, be done. But I definitely feel like, as far as this goes, I truly feel like something would definitely be done. This is literally Tim Walz on NBC running cover for the Somalis, literally covering for the Somalis in Minnesota after stealing billions of taxpayers' dollars in Minnesota. Check it out.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
Dozens of...
What's lazy is a simple fact that people don't take accountability for their actions. And as y'all can see, Tim Walz, and again, since we on Tim Walz, we ain't gonna put Ilhan Omar in there, which he should be, as well as everybody else. I truly feel like it's very lazy for them not to take accountability for their actions and what they're doing. It's definitely sickening and definitely sad, when it all comes down to it. Here it is, Fox News. A lot. I definitely want to share this video because it has some great information. Let's check it out.
$1 billion fraud scandal in his state. And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says, it wasn't me. Well, the liberal New York Times, with a deep dive into the fraud allegations, called out Minnesota's social services and COVID-era programs under Governor Walz's watch. So I guess it was him. A majority of the suspects are from the state's Somali community. And here is the former vice presidential candidate defending himself.
Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
Well, the only one being demonized based on the facts is the fact that the governor didn't do what he should have done when he could have.
Exactly.
Well, the Minnesota Department of Human Service employees account posted this. Quote, while Tim Walz makes all manner of incorrect statements about Minnesota leading, what we really lead in is failed governance. Tim Walz has turned Minnesota into a failed state with deteriorating infrastructure, education, and economic metrics. And worst of all, we are failing our most vulnerable citizens by letting cripple state services.
I feel like, honestly, they're constantly literally showing us why President Trump is doing what he's doing. I feel like they're literally, like, everything that they're doing when it's coming to these $8 billion fraud, when it's coming into, illegals constantly having crime in these different states. I truly feel like this is something that, they're constantly showing. Not only, the Trump administration, but literally Americans. Like, they're literally showing us, what I'm telling y'all. It's all right here, though. It's all right here, and it's definitely sad, that they're constantly letting this happen, and doing this, when it comes to these Somalians. It's basically like they're truly just taking over Minnesota.
Quote, senior correspondent Mike Tobin. Mike.
And Harris, Minnesota Republicans are making it clear that this widespread fraud happened on Tim Walz's watch, and he should own it. It started with emergency COVID money, and it went on for years. 50 people have been convicted, 78 are charged. The suspects are concentrated in Minnesota's Somali community. And since the Somalis have grown into a powerful political voting bloc, Minnesota Democrats, particularly Governor Tim Walz, are accused of turning a blind eye to the fraud. One attorney involved in the case reportedly said the state ignored all the red flags. It was like someone was stealing from a cookie jar, and they kept refilling it. An account for the Department of Human Services representing 480 members posted on X. Tim Walz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers. This is a cascade of failures leading up to Tim Walz. The Republican House Speaker and candidate for governor says the fraud exploded with Walz in office.
He has said that he takes responsibility for putting people in jail, but he's never apologized to the taxpayers. He's never taken accountability of saying this has happened on his watch, and he's pushed it aside until I, as Speaker of the House, established the Fraud Prevention and Agency Oversight Committee this legislative session, and it has finally drawn national attention.
The alleged fraud hits hard in 3 areas. A program called Feed Our Families, meant to provide meals to poor families during COVID, a housing program, and a program for autistic children. The claim is that people were setting up bogus companies or claiming to provide services that were never delivered. In the case of autistic children, the allegation is that parents were getting a kickback for claiming their child was autistic and getting aid for treatment. Harris?
Telling y'all, definitely insane. Definitely insane the ways that they're doing. I explained yesterday, you know, another way of what they're doing is that a lot of people don't know this. But when they go to Minnesota, they get $7,000 off bat per person. It was said, you know, that they do. They get $7,000 per person, y'all. They get this $7,000 and they start them a business. I would tell anybody, you can start a business with about $2,000. You can start a small business with that much. So what they're doing is they have this business, y'all. They have this business. They got this, you know, they had this, their small business or whatever. And what they do is that they take that $7,000, get their small business, they get food stamps. Mind you, they already got a place to stay. They put on a place to stay. You get that, they have that, they got that $7,000, and then they go and they get food stamps as well. So if they starting, you know, any business where they got to do with food, and I know there's food stamps. Actually, I know this is about to sound pretty much crazy, but I found out for myself. You can use food stamps to get. I didn't know this. You can get food stamps and get like other things like you can get what do you can get? You can get soaps. You can get body wash, deodorants. You can get different things, and they'll use them. They'll put them in their shop, or they'll put them, you know, for their small business. So they're really not spending nothing. Literally, I mean, it's taxpayers. I mean, it's literally all in our faces. It's all in our faces, and it's definitely sad and disgusting that they're allowing this to happen constantly. I'm telling y'all, definitely insane. This right here is one of my, you know, favorite videos. This is the 3 top ranking Minnesota leftists. All have direct ties to Somali and fraud ring, taking tens of millions of dollars. Check it out, y'all.
Under the nose of Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison. We see a web of connections between them and those directly involved in the fraud. For example, Ilhan Omar alleged enabling introducing the 2020 Meals Act, which was ultimately subject to fraud. Held a campaign victory party at the Safari restaurant. That's where one of the men who run that restaurant has associations to the convicted individuals. And then there's Tim Walz. House Oversight Investigation role in his role as governor. Or Keith Ellison, the Attorney General. His job is to enforce the law in Minnesota, but instead he's getting donations after meeting with the Feeding Our Future representatives. The Feeding Our Future, the biggest known yet part of this entire fraud.
So you literally have Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, and Keith Ellison.
Theft ring. The executive director of Black Lives Matter, by the way, over in Oklahoma City has now been
telling y'all. And we went over the whole thing with the Black Lives Matter as well. You know, definitely insane, you know, when it comes down to that. But you literally have here. And one thing about it, when it comes to these 3 individuals, I'm going to go back. When it comes to these 3 individuals, Ilhan Omar, Keith Ellison, Tim Walz, With Ilhan Omar, obviously, a lot of people are wanting, for her to be deported. Tim Walz and Keith Ellison definitely need to see, and all of them really need to see, that prison time. I feel like it should definitely make example, when it comes down to, this mess that's going down. This video in particular, pretty sure, just judging by, how he's acting, judging by the way he is, you can definitely see and tell that he knows that it's not going to end well, for him. And he definitely sees prison time. Check it out.
And we paid them. And then they got caught and went to jail after the fact. So a lot of it is that the programs that are set up, and with the Medicaid experts who are here, very challenging because, again, and I would assume we're going to see this, there will probably be holds put on legitimate folks for reasons that look like that. And they may bring us to court. Now I have the legal authority at least to stop payment. So I think a lot of it is that they're following the rules. They're trying to get there. It's this change again. We're going to have to be more skeptical about it. You see it. And Drew, I don't want to speak to what the number was. The bulk of all of this in terms of the money is coming out basically out of the Medicaid program. Is that correct? And we paid.
I'm telling y'all, he knows. I definitely, you can tell, just the way he's acting, just the way he is. You can definitely tell. I'm telling y'all, you can definitely tell. It says here, this is a post by Wesley Hunt. Tim Walz blaming President Trump for the Minnesota Somali fraud scandal that happened on his watch in his state because of his mismanagement, that the language of a beta with no accountability. If you're going to blame Trump for everything, from your own state's corruption to the misuse of medical funds, let's be honest, this is your failure, not nobody else's. What's even more unbelievable is that he basically admitted on camera and then still tried to drag Trump into it. Check it out.
We're now investigating Minnesota's massive Somali fraud scandal.
This is not brand new, and it's been being worked on.
This clown is blaming Trump for a massive scandal.
This is out of the words of a true beta. At the end of the day, if you're going to blame President Trump for everything, even the ills of your own state and the mismanagement of those medical funds, let's be honest here, this is your fault. And this is Ilhan Omar's fault. This is the federal government. It's also the state government failing Minnesota. And he sat there and really admitted it. And the idea that you're going to bring Trump in this, and President Trump has been the president for about 10 months now, is pretty ridiculous. This has been going on far before President Trump even got into office. This is their only playbook. They are still on the blame Trump playbook. And what they are still forgetting is that just 1 year ago, we won the House, we won the Senate, he won the presidency overwhelmingly, and they are still reeling as to how they're going to move forward. Again, this ship is rudderless. They have no leadership, and the only thing that they could do is blame Trump, even for their ills and for their own missteps.
And that's what I'm talking about when it comes down to, the accountability. Just like Wesley Hunt saying, that playbook, that whole game plan, that whole thing is always to blame Trump. Anything that goes on, with anything, I'm talking about anything. I say it all the time. I just said it can be a cat stuck in a tree. Trump will literally come down, Secret Service and all, and help get that tree down. They're still going to find a reason to blame Trump for it. They're going to blame Trump for every single thing possible because they never take accountability. One thing about it, though, is that people constantly see that. They notice that. People are literally coming out and speaking on that because they're seeing, okay, well, we're not seeing really nothing from the Democratic Party. They have no leader. You literally see no leader. Like, everybody is for themselves. Everybody's for themselves. They have no, I'm talking about, it's no whatsoever. Just it's no balance. There's no balance. Everything is off balance. There's no structure when it comes down, to the left at all. I'm telling y'all. Says right here, it's not only Tim Walz, it's the entire Democrat Party. Literally got it right here. Has unveiled audio exposing AG Keith Ellison. Check it out.
Breaking news, this should be one of the biggest stories in America. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison met with fraudsters in Minnesota and accepted campaign contributions. This is huge, and we need to get this everywhere.
Recently released audio recordings reveal conversations that happened between the Attorney General and individuals who were later implicated and in some cases convicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. In those recordings, the Attorney General...
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
State your point of order.
Masons 124, paragraph 1, in debate, members must confine remarks to questions before the body and avoid personalities. The debate here is not any individual. It is the policy and the amendment.
Representative Niska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General was asked in those recordings to use his authority to protect businesses under investigation for wrongdoing, and rather than distance himself or remain neutral to allow the legal process to unfold, he responded in those recordings, "Of course, I'm here to help."
Mr. Speaker.
And even the Attorney General in those recordings even urged the individuals, "Let's go fight these people." He was offered campaign contributions during that meeting, contributions that he later accepted. The release of those audio recordings raises questions about what's going on in the Attorney General's office that go directly to the need to pass the legislation that we had previously debated, House File 20. Although he has insisted that nothing came of the meeting, his office lost disclosure of closed investigative data.
Mason's 124.
The A11 will help ensure that what happens behind closed doors in the Attorney General's office sees the light of day. We can protect people's privacy while shining a light on what the Attorney General's office is doing, who is influencing that office, whether it's those under a criminal investigation, nonprofits, corporations, or billionaires with political agendas, because Minnesotans have a right to know when their Attorney General's office is working with them. Minnesotans have a right to know whether the Attorney General is telling the truth, that nothing came of that meeting. That's why the A11 is so important.
So the Democrats are claiming that they are just the most moral, cleanest political party in history, yet you have a man who is openly accepting donations from fraudsters and illegal immigrants. And I can't say that I'm surprised. Comment below with your reaction.
One thing about it, I'm not going to lie. I know I said something, I've said something about Ilhan Omar. A lot of people are wanting, for her to be deported. I know a lot of people are wanting for, Tim Walz to be, to have that prison time. But I feel like a lot of people aren't realizing that, again, as it's stating, it's the entire Democratic Party in Minnesota, and I feel like all of them should be held accountable for their actions and what they're doing, because this is something that I feel like this is something that shouldn't be, swept up under a rug. This should be something that's definitely out, because I truly feel like this is something that, is definitely sickening. It's definitely sickening. It's definitely insane that they're allowing this and wanting this, and I said at the beginning of the video, I know they have to gather information. I know this is a full-on investigation, but I just don't want this to be just another thing to be swept up under the rug. I truly feel like this is something that definitely it should be, so much of, okay, this is an example. We're about to set an example for this individual. And I truly feel that way. That's just how I feel, and I'm sure others, feel the same exact way. Literally says, who thinks Tim Walz should go to prison and Ilhan Omar should be deported? Do y'all fully support this? Y'all let me know down in the comments. Definitely appreciate y'all. Much love, everybody. Catch y'all next one.